Right, great. Well, welcome everybody to Synergy 3 Wellness Wednesday. And I'm happy to be here with all of you today. This is a topic that is often questioned and talked about. So I'm excited to do it today. It's acid reflux myths and truths. So I am Lucy Deanna, and I am here alone today. My partners are taking a well-deserved vacation, and that's probably one of the most important things that we teach, that in order to be the healthiest version of ourselves, we need to rest. So I am thrilled for them, and my turn will come soon. So our mission is really to educate, then inspire and empower you to be your own health advocate. So I say that today wholeheartedly, especially with this topic of acid reflux and heartburn. So let's get into the education part first. So I have a picture here of the esophagus going into the stomach. And the bolus is the food that you chewed, and it's going down the esophagus, and you will see arrows pointing to what is called the lower esophageal sphincter. That's our door. It's very important, so I'm highlighting it right now. When the food starts coming in, you'll see in the second diagram that the door opens and allows the bolus, which is the chewed food, to go into the stomach. So often the LES, let's call it the LES, is likened to a fist that opens and closes. So while we're eating, it starts to open so the food can travel into the stomach. Then it closes tightly. So everything that happens in the stomach at that part of digestion stays there and nothing flows backwards. Okay, so acid reflux dynamic, I know people usually their mouth drops open when I say this. It's not necessarily, and this is actually rare, for it to be a condition of too much stomach acid. It really is a condition of the LES being too loose. So it's not, I don't want to say the percentage of times, but it's often not an issue of too much stomach acid, but a dynamic with this door that isn't closing properly. Okay, so I want to talk to you about hydrochloric acid, which in the stomach is one of the most important digestive fluids. We call it digestive juices. And without enough hydrochloric acid, our digestion is impaired. So it's a very, very important, often overlooked part of the process. And we cannot be the healthiest version of ourselves if our digestion is impaired. Now, I want to say something about hydrochloric acid. If we would take hydrochloric acid out of the stomach and pour it on our hand, it would burn immediately. It is very, very corrosive. But that is necessary in the stomach, because what it does, the most important thing, is that it actually activates the enzyme pepsin, and you'll see this in the diagram. And what that does, the pepsin helps to break down our protein. So imagine that you are eating a grass-fed burger, and notice I'm saying grass-fed because at Synergy 3, quality is incredibly important. So what it does is that bolus of grass-fed beef that we ate, we need that to be broken down into usable components of protein. They're called amino acids, and we need them for so many different functions of the body. It is vital. And for anybody, for example, that, especially in our world today with the high levels of stress, in order to make enough feel-good chemicals in our brain, neurotransmitters, we need amino acids. So imagine if we're not able to break down our protein in our stomach in an efficient way, it can impact down the line other functions of the body. So this is critical. And another part of hydrochloric acid's job is a passive function of the immune system. And I love to liken this to a washing machine and adding Clorox. So the HCl is Clorox. So, we're eating food. We don't know what it's touching. Pathogens are coming into our body, unwanted organisms. We need enough hydrochloric acid in order to what? Get rid of those pathogens, kill them, so they're not making their way down to another part of our digestive system and potentially into our body, causing us unwanted harm and dis-ease. Okay, so I wanted to say that. Very, very important. Okay, now we're going to look at a situation where the esophagus, the food is coming down the esophagus, and if you see here, the sphincter is closed. The left side says it's the healthy version of what should be happening, and the process of digestion is happening in all the fluids and the molecules that are combined in the stomach. They're closed in there. They're safe. All right, they're staying isolated in the stomach as the churning is happening. You will have acid reflux if you look at the diagram on the right, when the sphincter, for different reasons, loosens up, is relaxed, opens up, and what happens? The fluid from the stomach combining with the hydrochloric acid is flowing backwards. It's coming up. So when you're burping and you're belching and you feel pain, that is what you are feeling. If it is contained in the stomach in a healthy way, then you're not going to experience the symptoms. So actually, what GERD is, or what acid reflux is misplaced digestive juices. You might hear someone say it's hydrochloric acid in the wrong place, but it's a combination of the digestive juices backing up because that sphincter, the LES, is loose, relaxed, or even damaged. Now, Daryl and I had a client that we were both working with. This man had the worst heartburn. And he had been to other doctors before. He was a stellar client. He did everything to the T. And we're going to get to what we should do. And nothing was improving. So we said to him, listen, you need to go back to the gastroenterologist. There might be something anatomically going on with the LES. And so he did. And lo and behold, that sphincter had dissolved, probably from years of it being faulty and it being loose. It had actually dissolved. There was nothing there. They had to do a graft. So just wanted to say the dynamic, how powerful this acid is. And the stomach actually has a lining of mucus that protects it. That is not the case with the esophagus. So there are many, many potential disorders that can occur. And one very concerning one, of course, is cancer of the esophagus. So if you have heartburn, it's not something, or GERD, it's not something that should be left untreated, okay? But that being said, there are root cause solutions that we like to talk about at Synergy 3 because our philosophy is let's create a strong foundation. You might be taking medications. You always listen to your doctor. You don't stop taking the meds, but what else can be done? And do you understand the dynamic of this condition? Most of us, I have to tell you, before I studied nutrition, I can't say to you that I thought much of it, right? We pop at Tums, we're given a proton pump inhibitors to help with the acid, the symptoms, so on and so forth, but it's a Band-Aid, right? It's a Band-Aid. We're not getting to the root cause of the condition. So number one, everybody laughs, but digestion begins in the mouth. So you need to chew your food well, and we say 20 to 30 chews to make it liquid. Make that bolus, which was in the first diagram, make that bolus nice and, chewed up, so that you're supporting the overall load, the work being done by the rest of the digestive process. Okay, there are many people, I have to say, if there isn't anything anatomically going on or other possible infections, that actually have relieved their acid reflux just by taking this step alone. So I want to emphasize that. Chew your food really, really well. And how many of us can honestly say that we do that? A lot of, our life is stressful, our life is busy, maybe not in a bad way, but we're eating on the run, and we really are not, the American lifestyle is not really, maybe we're getting better, geared towards the sitting down, relaxing, and enjoying a meal, right? We have to make a concerted effort to say, we're going to do that. Maybe it'll happen if we go out to lunch with a friend, but even dinner time in the American home, usually we're not even sitting all together at a table anymore. So it's something that we need to consider. Secondly, you'll see, don't drink too many fluids during mealtime. You can have some, but eating or drinking, actually, I think I did not include eating. Eating or drinking too much during a mealtime can dilute the digestive juices, which we need to break down the food, right? So if we're drinking rather 16 ounces of water, we're actually diluting the juices, which can cause bloating and belching. And then it causes the food to hang out in the stomach longer, which then causes fermentation. And that's like a bubbling in the stomach. And that produces gas, and the gas pushes against that little door, the lower esophageal sphincter, and it becomes loose. And you're going to have a reflux. And over time, again, I want to emphasize, this can cause irritation in this esophagus, and we don't want that to happen. And then as far as the food, we want to eat till we're about 80% full, because when we stuff our stomach, the same thing could happen. And then that little door loosens and opens up. Okay, so don't drink too much, and cut down the portion of your food. Don't stuff yourself to the point where, oh, I'm so full. Eat till you're 80% full, and allow your brain to catch up with the fact that you've eaten enough. And if you try this, you'll see, if you eat till you're about 80% full and you wait about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all of a sudden you feel full and satisfied. And if you're trying to lose weight, that's a biggie. And one other thing too is that we have this natural broom, I call it a broom, in our digestive system. Is called the migrating motor complex. Very important between meals not to be grazing all day long unless you have a health issue, because that is the time when we cleanse, where the scraps are cleaned away. So we want to initiate that natural cleaning system of the body. Okay, and we won't do that if we're constantly picking all day long. Don't wear tight pants. I mean, that's an easy one, right? What do you think happens when you're wearing a very tight pant? You're squishing your digestive organs, and it's actually pushing the food upwards, and again, loosening the LES. Magnesium deficiency. Incredibly common in the United States because our soils no longer contain enough magnesium. And what magnesium does is it relaxes the muscles, and without it, muscles are tight and they spasm. And so the LES is actually a muscle, and it can be, most probably, if you are deficient in magnesium, it will impact it, and it will spasm and not work efficiently, won't stay closed. So just to give you a little tip on what type of magnesium, because there's so many different forms, we like magnesium glycinate because it's easily absorbed. But if you're constipated, magnesium citrate is also a good option. Now, because we're all about food and eating the delicious way, we should start with food. And there are definitely foods that will aggravate the situation and cause the lower esophageal sphincter, the LES, to spasm and to open up when it shouldn't. So some of these foods would be cooked tomato sauce, citrus juice, coffee. So those of you who are coffee drinkers might want to try, not avoiding coffee if you have acid reflux, black tea, soda, alcohol, spicy foods, hands down. I think everybody who has acid reflux has experienced this. Fried foods, chocolate, and anything with mint in it. Mint will aggravate this, okay? So eliminating the foods, or at least reducing them, can probably give you some rapid relief. So you might want to try that. Don't eat or drink 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, because reflux can often be worse at night because you're lying down and your muscles are relaxing. And the LES is going to naturally be relaxed. So you put food in your stomach at night and you go to bed, very possibly you're going to cause reflux. So try to abstain from eating 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. So you don't want to have food in your stomach. And you will have better sleep if you do that. Fight or flight mode. This is understood. We know that stress causes havoc in the body. We cannot digest. This is my favorite part that I learned in my nutrition education. We cannot heal. We cannot digest if we're not calm. So we have the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is a fight or flight. And then we have the parasympathetic. That's the rest and digest. So it sounds kind of funny because you think of digestion as active. It's something that's happening. It's an action, right? But yet, that's when we have efficient digestion. And that is when we heal. And a lot of us, because of our busy lifestyles, are in the fight or flight. And a lot of us, for different reasons, not to go into on this webinar, we get stuck in the fight or flight. So it's understood that we need to introduce into our lifestyle part of our healthy plan are things that will reduce stress in our body. All right, again, there's steps that we are in control of and will definitely be part of that supportive protocol to help reduce the symptoms of acid reflux. And food sensitivities, we already mentioned some foods, but here at Synergy 3, one of our our signature programs is called our Wellness Program / Cleanse, and it's actually a very thorough elimination diet, and it's gold standard when you're going to start a healing journey, because food sensitivities are at the crux of almost everything. It causes inflammation. So it's a little more intense in that we're eliminating gluten, we're eliminating dairy, soy. So gluten, soy, and dairy are 3 foods that should definitely be considered when you have acid reflux. And so doing a simple elimination diet, 2 to 3 weeks of that, and then reintroducing the foods could give you a lot of good information. All right. So that is something we highly, highly recommend. And also, you might be on a medication. So if you're having chronic GERD symptoms, think of the medications you are on, ask your doctor, and that might be part of the contraindications of any type of medication that you need to take. All right, so let us go here. Now, besides that, so those are some of the root cause solutions that you could put into place. And you can listen to this webinar again if you're taking notes or you missed anything. I highly recommend that you do those. Then there could be physiological drivers, and this is when you go to the doctor. And so on the LES, you might have a hernia. There might be an H. pylori infection, which is, H. pylori is an endemic organism that lives inside of us, but it can get, it can be overgrown. and it can definitely cause you to have GERD because it will impact the amount of acid also in our stomach. Now, hypochlorhydria is actually low stomach acid, becomes very, very common as we get older. So that's also something to consider, that you're actually experiencing low stomach acid. And then much less common, but also a possibility, is finally there's too much acid. This usually is connected with a duodenal ulcer. So it's less of a common issue in people because GERD is obviously, dispersed through the population. Many, many people experience this. So it's not common for there to be a duodenal ulcer, but in some people it happens. It could be genetics. So these different drivers need to be considered if nothing else works. Okay, and one last thing I want to leave you with. So we do not recommend, like I said, I want to stress again, this is information for your education and your empowerment. You do not come off your meds without speaking to your doctor. But that being said, to continuously pop a Tums and to be on PPIs for the duration of your life does have side effects. It's something that should be spoken about with your doctor if you cannot have healthy digestion without being on PPIs. There are long-term side effects, and I just wanted to mention that. So it's important. So the point here is it's important to understand the root cause and do something about it. You can contact us on our website, www.thesynergy3.com. And if you subscribe on YouTube, and whoever is going to be seeing this video once we're not live, please hit the subscribe button below, because the more subscribers we have, the more our message reaches people. And obviously, as you can hear today, this is vital because this is such a common and often chronic problem. And many people don't know the simple solutions. And what I love about healing naturally is there are simple solutions, and we need to create a really strong foundation. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and thank you for all those who will be looking at this when we're not live, and I'm going to open it up